Good day, everyone. Before I start, let me introduce myself. I am Hazel P. Shenes, 19 years of age, BS Forestry. And now, I will answer the three questions that given to our instructor in NBio in Course Pack 2, Lesson 3. So in the first question, describe water cohesive and adhesive properties. Second question, enumerate and explain briefly the properties of water. And the last question is, give the importance of water unusual properties for living system. Cohesion. Cohesion refers to the attraction of molecules for other molecules of the same kind. And the water molecules have a strong cohesive force thanks to their ability to form hydrogen bond with one another. Cohesive force are responsible for surface tension, a phenomenon that results in the liquid surface to resist rupture when placed under tension or stress. Water molecules at the surface or at the air interface will form hydrogen bonds with their neighbors, just like water molecules deeper within the liquid. However, because they are exposed air on one side, they will have fewer neighboring water molecules to bond with and will form stronger bonds with the neighbors they do have. Surface tension causes water to form spiral droplets and allow it to support small objects like a scrap or like a scrap of a paper or a needle if they are placed carefully on its surface. Adhesion. Adhesion, water like to stick to itself, but under certain circumstances, it actually prefers to stick to other type of molecule. Adhesion is the attraction of molecules of one kind for molecules of a different kind, and it can be quite strong for water, especially with other molecules bearing positive or negative charge. In the second question, enumerate and explain briefly the properties of water. So in the properties of the water, there are 7. Water structure facilitates hydrogen bonding. Water molecules are cohesive. Water molecules are adhesive. High specific heat. High heat of vaporization. Lower density of ice and solubility. In water structure facilities, hydrogen bonding is the single most outstanding chemical properties of water in its ability to form weak chemical association called hydrogen bonds. These bonds form between the partially negative atoms and partially positive atoms of two water molecules, although these bonds have only 5 to 10% of the strength of covalent bonds. They are important to DNA and protein structure, and thus responsible for much of the chemical organization of the living system. Water molecules are cohesive. Water molecules are cohesive, form an abundance of hydrogen bonds, which are responsible for many of its important physical properties. Water cohesion is responsible for its being liquid, not a gas, at a molecule temperature. In short, water cohesive attractive force between like molecules. Cohesion is an intrinsic property of a molecule determined by its shape, structure, and electric charge distribution. When cohesive molecules approach each other, the electrical attraction between portions of each molecules hold them together. For example, water cider. Water cider literally walk on water. Why? Because the surface tension of the water is greater than the force of 1 foot. The cider glides atop the surface of the water rather than sinking. The high surface tension of water is due to hydrogen bonding between water molecules. Water molecules are adhesive. Water molecules are adhesive. Polarity of water causes it to be attracted to other polar molecules as well. This attraction for other polar substances is called adhesion. Water adheres to any substance which it can form hydrogen bonds. The attraction of water to substances that have electrical charges. Their surface is responsible for capillary action. In the other words, adhesion is the attraction force between molecules of different kind. Adhesion force occur between different molecules. Adhesion can be defined as the preference to stick to other type of molecules. For example, capillary action causes the water within a narrow tube to rise above the surrounding water level. The adhesion of the water to the glass surface, which draws water upwards, is stronger than the force of gravity, which tends to pull it down. The narrower the tube, the greater the surface of area available for adhesion for a given volume of water, and the higher the water rises in the tube. High specific heat. High specific heat, hydrogen bonds absorb heat when they break and release heat when they form, minimizing temperature changes. The specific heat of water is high because it takes a considerable amount of energy to disrupt hydrogen bonds. In high heat of vaporization, many hydrogen bonds must be broken for water to evaporate. Breaking hydrogen bonds to turn liquid water into vapor takes a lot of energy. Many organisms lose excess heat through evaporative cooling, such as sweating. And in lower density of ice, water molecules in an ice crystal are spaced relatively far apart because of hydrogen bonding. In solubility, polar water molecules are attracted to ions and polar compounds, making these compounds soluble. This maximizes the hydrogen bonds that water can make hydrophobic exclusion can affect the structure of DNA proteins and biological membranes. And in the last question, water has many unusual properties because of its polar covalent bonds. Oxygen has a larger electronegativity than hydrogen, so the electron atoms giving it a partial negative charge. Subsequently, both of the hydrogen atoms take on a partial positive charge.